welcome everybody to another Mando Lessons Live. My name is Baron Collins Hill. I run Mando Lessons. You're probably here because you already know about it, but if you don't, MandoLessons.com. Lots of free online mandolin instructions, etc. I like to try to do these most Saturdays that I'm around. Just kind of spend an hour doing some Q&A, meeting all you folks, seeing familiar names, meeting new people. It's always good. I love hearing what everyone's working on, so ask questions, don't be bashful, nothing too complicated, nothing too simple. It's all open range here, so you know, whether it's a rank beginner question or a very advanced question, I'm happy to do my best to answer it and just have a good time. I'm happy to take requests as long as they're in the public domain and are fiddle tunes that I'm likely to know, but we'll find out. I can always try them out even if I don't know them. Just make them up as I go along. We got tons of people in the chat already. I can already tell this is going to be a good one because the chat is going fast. How many people we got in here right now? It seems like it's got plenty of 31 people. That's a good number for a minute in here. I've got Jay Vincent, Carl, Sheldon, Joan, Phyllis, B.S. Foster, Lewis, Will, Robert, Elizabeth, Jeff, Asya, Terry, anyone else I'm missing? Lawrence, Dan's Tune, Richard, Catherine. All right. Great to have you all here. Lots of familiar names and some new ones too. Let me know in the chat if this is your first time. And thanks for joining in. See if I can get into some of these questions, or if there are any questions at this point. People from all over the world: Barcelona, Minnesota, North Carolina, Massachusetts, Kansas City, Vancouver Island, New Jersey, Tel Aviv. Amazing. All right, let's see. I'll catch up with some of the stuff that's going on here in the chat. People saying thanks for the lessons. Glad you're enjoying them. Yeah, mandolin is a great way, and music in general is a great way to bring joy to your life and other people's lives. People love hearing music, and if you can play music for other people and with other people, it's a beautiful thing. Somebody says no mandolin players in their area, so they're enjoying the videos, and somebody else said look for Skype lessons as well. Yeah, if you're interested in one-on-one lessons, I don't personally offer them, but there's tons of people, really great players out there. I would recommend looking at Mandolin Cafe, where there's a little section in the classified section. You can also ask in the message board, which is just full of great information and really knowledgeable folks about, tell people what kind of music you're interested in, where you're at, and if they have Skype lesson recommendations. There's some really amazing mandolin players out there that are touring hard, and you've probably heard of them, and they're doing lessons too. I've taken some of those in the past. I did some, there's just lots of great mandolin teachers out there, and the internet really opens up the world to study with who you want to. Oh yes, the tune that I just played right there, Lewis correctly identified as Big Sciota. Great tune. It's on my website, so you'll run into that one a lot in old time sessions and bluegrass jams and festivals and camps. So learn that one if you're into that sort of stuff. It's a good one to have in the back pocket. Lauren says, glad to see you've recovered. Yeah, I was out sick last week. The last couple times, you're just like, I've been getting sick for Saturdays, but I'm finally feeling much better. It was a pretty short one this time. A couple weeks ago, I just got really took me down for a couple weeks, and I missed a couple of these things. But this was just a short little weekend thing. Back to my old self. All right, let's see. Ducks in the Millpond. That is a great tune. Maybe I'll play that later. Richard says, not a mandolin player, but never pass up the excuse to play Billy in the Low Ground. That's always a great tune. Yeah. Take 5. That's a great tune. That's a copyrighted one, and I don't really know it that well, but a great jazz. Well, I don't know if it's not a jazz. Well, I guess it's not really like an American songbook jazz standard, but it's a jazz classic. Dave Brubeck. Good stuff. Chief O'Neill's Favorite. That's a great request. I don't know that one off the top of my head. A lot of the Irish tunes I sort of only know if other people start them, so I just kind of rely on other people and then play along, and they tend to make their way back into my fingers eventually. All right, Denise, good to have you here. 1X. I'm not sure what that means, but good stuff. All right, Phyllis. Oh, first time. 1X, first time. I had forgotten I had asked that question. Great. All sorts of folks that are here for the first time. Glad to hear it. Thanks so much for joining. Like I said, these happen every Saturday that I'm around. So that's most Saturdays. I usually try to, if you're ever interested, you can go to this, I think it's like youtube.com/MandoLessons/live. I don't know exactly what the, it should show up in your, if you're subscribed, it should show up in your kind of subscription box when I set it go. I usually kind of publish that it's going to happen in a couple hours. I'll set it up Saturday morning and then go live at noon Eastern Standard Time. But it's all sorts of times all around the world. Yeah, so that's, and then I'll try to update things if I'm not going to make it. But in general, I try to make it. So, also, just so you're all got a heads up, this week's tune, and at the end of every lesson, there's going to be a play-along tune, or not every lesson, every live stream on Saturdays, we do a play-along. This week's is Tombigbee Waltz, a lovely waltz in the key of G. It's on the website if you want to get a sneak peek. And we'll play through that. I'll play the chords while you play the melody. You can play the chords while I play the melody. It'll be a good time. We'll get to that at the end of the hour. All right, B.S. Vosters, apologies, I'm probably not saying your name correctly, from the Netherlands. Very cool. Texas first-timer. Phyllis saying, having trouble with finger placement. Can't keep my hand from moving around. I think that'll kind of change as the more time you put into it. You know, don't worry too much about it right off the bat, because, you know, the fact that you're aware of it, it just means you're kind of intentionally or unintentionally kind of experimenting with the best place to have your hand. I think it's good to get to a point where your hand can really be stationary, and you can sort of get to all the stuff you need to get to, but a little moving around at first just to make sure you're staying comfortable, not a problem. And if you keep your mind on it, like, oh, that's something I want to change, you'll get there and it'll change over time. Cool. Carol says, I play guitar, mandolin, banjo, piano. Love all of them. Yep. Too many instruments, too little time. That's what I always say. Cool. BS is off to have dinner. Hope it's delicious. Joan says, does this happen to any of you? The A string is harder to tune and to maintain tuned in my mandolin. I hear that a lot. I don't know why that is. I've heard it like discussed on Mandolin Cafe, and maybe somebody's got reasons for it there. I've had mandolins where that happens. It doesn't happen on this one. Yeah. Often if things aren't in tune, it's rarely the factor of the tuners. It's often like kind of too tight or improperly cut at the nut, or something going on over the bridge that's kind of snagging it up in a way. So that's one thing you could kind of, and it's a fairly simple fix if you bring it to your local, well-respected repair person. They might be able to troubleshoot that issue for you, because it's good to be able to play in tune for a long time. Dan, good to have you here. Lewis says, played around a campfire earlier this week at Turkey Run State Park. Enjoyed by those around. Lessons made all the difference. Cool, I'm glad you got to get out, and I'm so excited. It's finally, June. Happy June, everyone. It's June 1st, and it's outside music playing weather in Maine anyway. So it's good to be out, and I've been playing outdoors a little bit. I'm actually going to play an outdoor contra dance tonight. It's going to be super fun. It's going to be me and my band Velocipede, which is my musical partner Julia, who plays fiddle, and then there's also just going to be kind of like a community sit-in band playing along with us. So that's going to be super fun. That's kind of how I got started, was going to contra dances and plinking along in the background, and then slowly getting in front of a mic and things like that. Sheldon says, my left arm cramps up after playing guitar for a while, usually around 20 or 30 minutes. Is there any way to prevent it? Left arm on guitar. Good question. I'll grab a guitar just because, the mechanics are always a little different on different instruments. So the way that I approach guitar, I think I approach it the same way as mandolin. And again, I'm not a guitar teacher. I don't have as much experience teaching guitar. But in general, I kind of take the same approach. It's a bigger instrument to kind of get your arms around. But with the left arm, talking about cramping up, give it a nice shake out. What I do is bend, and this kind of goes for most instruments that are played in this position, whether it's a mandolin, guitar, banjo. Nice and relaxed, bend at the elbow, and then put the instrument into your hand rather than your hand to where the instrument is. So that's going to make your elbow be nice and flat along this side. You're not pulling your shoulder back or forward. It's just nice and relaxed, bend, and then say, okay, that's where my hand is. Put the instrument in there. It's going to kind of push the neck away from your body a little bit, but that's okay. And then that also, if the instrument is flat too, pulls this shoulder back, and with a guitar, it really pulls your right shoulder forward. So that feels very uncomfortable. Whereas, if you let the neck go into your hand, I tend to play with people. There's a little bit of variance here compared to what I teach with mandolin. I feel like some people do a little bit more of kind of different wrist positions. I approach guitar the same way that I play mandolin. Nice straight wrist. You don't want to be doing this or doing this too much. I know with guitar there's some classical tradition where you've got your thumb further down back. I kind of approach it the same way as a mandolin. Again, not really a guitar teacher. But in general, just trying to keep yourself as relaxed as possible, all the way up into your back. Make sure you're sitting up nice and comfortably and straight, but not stiff. Bend at the elbow. Everything nice and loose. Just try to make the instrument as ergonomic as possible. Use a strap if that's helpful. Less necessary on a guitar just because it kind of sits in a better place on your knee compared to a mandolin. But that would be my recommendation. Same thing with the right arm. Kind of bend at the elbow. It's gonna flop. Your arm's gonna get pulled out a little bit from the guitar, but by having the instrument kind of tipped like that, it minimizes that tip, or that kind of out of kind of a natural position by tipping this arm forward and this arm back. Nice relaxed wrist, so your elbow and your wrist are each taking part of that movement. All right, let's see. Great question, though. All that goes for mandolin as well. Try to stay as relaxed as possible. Try to keep your shoulders in alignment as much as possible, and that'll really allow you to play for longer periods of time. Cool, David, good to have you here. Excited for the lesson. Me too. These are always a lot of fun. Okay, so now that we're catching behind you is the archtop guitar. So yeah, this is an archtop guitar. It's like Kalamazoo, which is a kind of Gibson offshoot brand. This guitar's from the 30s. It's very dinged up, but I like it a lot. It's all full of cracks, but it's a lot of fun. Okay, so we've got a question. Jonah, the question. Oh, okay, I see. So, Robert says, for the A string staying in tune, try phosphor bronze flat wrapped. I haven't used those. I played with flat wound strings for a little bit, but it's been years, and I never had much. Yeah, that could help. I think often though, if you're like really having tuning issues, rather than changing strings, you want to figure out what's going on with the nut or the bridge, and strings can also affect things too. All right. Cool. Let's Rodeo from Galveston County. Good to have you here. Matt says, I feel like I've plateaued in playing. Best exercise to break through? Mostly right hand. That's a good question. What I like to do, I think in general, like follow your interests, or like whatever you're excited about is really going to like allow you to kind of create that repetition and kind of be excited about whatever you're doing is just going to make you play more. So I think that's a big part of it. And in terms of kind of plateaus, I find that I often plateau. I plateau all the time. And you know, everybody does. Nobody's on like this constant like slow upward trend. You know, it really looks like this. It does go up, but it's not a linear progression. I think something that helps me with plateaus is like having either a sound or a style or a particular musician in mind that I really want to learn to play like. So, you know, if you've got like, oh, I really love Sam Bush's playing, or Bill Monroe, or Chris Thiele, or I love the sound of like Ronnie McCoury's like right hand, like get that sound in your head, listen to a lot of that stuff, and just go for it. You know, don't really try to like overdo the sound that you're hearing, and you'll be like, okay, that's too much. But it's putting that physical motion into your right hand, and then you can always dial it back into a more artistic space. Let's see. I have 2 mandolins where the A string is very touchy to tune. I thought I was the only one. Yeah, I think it's for some reason it's a common thing going on. All right, David, first time from Philly. Go out as a guitar player and mandolin duo and turn heads with Battle of Evermore. Nice, classic Led Zeppelin mandolin number. Cool. David says I play a gold tone copy of that Rigel. Yeah, gold tone. Making a lot of cool stuff. I've played a number of gold tone instruments over the years, and they really is a solid company. I really like the stuff they're putting out. Dan says, does the archtop guitar have the same way to the normal guitar in terms of like tuning and playing? Yeah, so like 6-string, it's just 6-string guitar, E, A, D, G, B, E, same tuning as a regular 6-string guitar. It's just it's a little like flat top guitars are very warm and mellow, and this has got a little more kind of grit and punch. Often used for kind of jazz, choppy. I don't play jazz on 6-string guitar. You know, it can be a little more melodic because you have that same way with like an archtop mandolin versus a flat top mandolin. The archtop has a little more projection and bite to it. I think the guitar is so heavy. It's a little heavier than a mandolin. It's also just such a different shape. They're not that, you know, guitars are usually like, acoustic guitars are usually, you know, between like 3 and 5 pounds. Maybe usually around like 4 pounds for like this size instrument. I don't know exactly how much this one weighs, but I would guess 4 pounds maybe. All right. A. Thomas Goldberg from Vancouver, BC. Good to have you here. Robert, thank you so much for the super chat donation. It's kind of YouTube's way of giving me a little tip, which is always appreciated, but not required. But it really helps me continue to put out lessons every week and do these live streams. So thank you, Robert, for the super chat, and for everyone who does PayPal donations and Patreon. If you're unfamiliar with Patreon, it's kind of, you can pay a small amount every month and get access to lessons a day early. And I do patron-only live streams like this once a month, where it's, you know, with these I'm usually trying my best to keep up with the chat. It's very fast-paced, but the Patreon ones are a little mellower, which is always nice. And, you know, you'll kind of get more in-depth with questions and have a more chill time. But they're both great. Yeah, so there's various things I do on Patreon if you want to check that out. Let's Radio says flat wound on a mandolin. Yep, there's a couple companies that make flat wound mandolin strings. D'Addario makes them. Tomastic Field makes them. Labella used to make them. I don't know if they do anymore. I think they might still. Yeah, there's a couple companies that do flat wound mandolin strings. It's a really cool sound. Not nearly as like trebly, and it doesn't project in the same way. You really, like, your chops will kind of get muted out a little bit, but it's a beautiful sound. And the strings feel great. I love the feel of flat wound strings. Cool. Catherine says, loved your duo on Polska from Morco. That's, yeah. So I'm really sad because last week we were all set up to have Noah on the live stream with me. Noah is the other mandolin player in those videos that we put out. Noah Fishman. And he's a busy dude, and so we hadn't really gotten a good time to do a live stream. And the last week was going to be it, and then I got sick, and we were going to do some radio stuff, and then we are going to do the live stream. And none of it panned out, unfortunately, but we'll get him on eventually. We've been working on some videos. He'll be making an appearance in MandoLessons videos, so that's always fun. Always great to have him on playing his sweet Pava mandolin. All right, let's see. Okay, yeah, EFW 74s is the D'Addario flat wound. Lewis says, I did have A string issues on mandolin. Flat wound strings did help. Cool. Tomastics. Mando Blast, I love the screen name, says, I used to love flat tops. Have had them on now, but only to use them up. Yeah, I kind of go... I use flat wounds exclusively for probably like 4 or 5 years. But I just kind of... different sound. I used to have a tone guard. I don't have a tone guard anymore. And I think just kind of like your taste and the sound you're after changes. You know, maybe someday I'll end up with flat wounds and a tone guard again. But for now, I love just the regular old phosphor bronze strings. Cool. All right. So we got a question here from David. How about a mandolin movable minor pentatonic scale fingering? Sure. Okay, minor. Let's see. Let's do like an A minor. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So pentatonic scales, for those of you who aren't familiar, there's tons of different pentatonic scales. What it means is pent, which is 5. So it's a 5-note scale. Often it'll have some kind of like, it'll have the tonic or like the 1 of the scale. So if we're in like G, it's going to have the 1. A major pentatonic most commonly is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and then you're back to 1. So with a minor, we could just make that 3, G, A, B, make that B a B flat, which is going to be a very telltale note that's going to really define something as minor, is that flat 3. So you can hear that 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, flat 3, 2, 1. Makes it very dark immediately. So we could just do that 3. There's lots of different minor scales, but we could do 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. Let's get the major 6, which is that E note in the key of G. Or you could do a flat 6. 1, 2, 3, 5, flat 6, 1. Or you could do 1, 3, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. There's lots of different options. And then as you get into movable scales, let's go with like A. You could do 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. So pointer finger, A string, sorry, G string on the second fret is an A. 2, 4, 5. 2, 4, 5. 2, 4, 7. And then as you move that, it'll go up, and you can go across strings and all that sort of thing. It's a great thing about a mandolin. Once you have something that's closed off, You can really move it up and down and across the strings as needed, and it'll always work. There's no pesky B string like on a guitar that kind of breaks the pattern. If you're interested in more minor pentatonic scales, I would check out jazzmando.com. Their FFCP section is great, and they've got a bunch of PDFs on a lot of movable. They've got, I think they do a couple, there's at least one minor pentatonic kind of PDF worksheet on a lot of that movable stuff that's really helpful. So check that out if you want a deeper dive on that stuff. Phyllis says, I've got an entry-level Rogue mandolin, looking to buy a better one. What are your suggestions? Must be affordable, limited funds. There's so many great mandolins out there. What I would recommend, the kind of go-to mandolin that I recommend is, it really depends on your budget, but in the kind of under $500 zone, I really like the Kentucky KM150. I'm not sponsored by Kentucky or anything. I just, love that instrument. You can often find them used on Mandolin Cafe Classifieds. Buying used instruments is always going to be more economical. It's kind of like buying a used car, or like once you buy a new car, you drive it off the lot and it loses like 25% of its value as soon as you drive it off the lot. Kind of the same thing with the mandolin. So you can buy used and then often sell it and not lose any money really at all. It's a good way to, that's kind of what I tend to do with instruments, is buy them used, and then if I don't get along with it, I can sell it for what I've got in it. So yeah, Kentucky's great. Eastman's making great stuff. The Lore is making good stuff. There's lots of good company. I would ask on Mandolin Cafe, tell them what kind of music you want to play, what your budget is, what kind of stuff you like the look of. I would recommend an A style because F styles are generally about twice as expensive as a comparable model A style. So I would ask on Mandolin Cafe. There's lots of different questions people will ask you and help you figure out what's right for you. And then you can either find, I would recommend if you're buying from a store like Elderly or the Mandolin Store, or kind of well-respected music stores are going to send you a mandolin that's much better set up and easier to play than buying it like from somewhere where it's just sitting in a factory or it's sitting in a warehouse and then shipped straight to you without somebody kind of going over it and making it play its best beforehand. Let's see. Go Fish Office, just wanted to say hello. Hope you're still doing well. I'm doing great. Glad to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. David, hello from Yorkshire, UK. Good to have you here. Mando Blast says, flat tops, start round, get ground a bit. Yeah, I've been looking for someone to seeing if anyone will make sell single flat tops for that electric tenor guitar that I've got back there, but I can't. I kind of want something intermediate. So flat tops are round strings that are ground down, or there's a couple different ways that people make them. But they're not quite as soft sounding as flat wounds, but they're kind of in between the brashness of a round wound string and a fully flat wound string. And I kind of want that sound on that instrument, but I can't. It's such an odd instrument that I can't find singles in the gauges that I want of flat tops. So if anybody knows about half flats, half rounds, flat tops, whatever you want to call them, single strings, let me know and you will make my day. Tremolo is hard to achieve when used in a triad. Do you have a method for holding the pick and tension in the arm? Grip the pick loosely or tightly, arm stiff or relaxed? Great question. So I think, if you're used to doing tremolo on one string, the way I approach kind of branching out into double stops and triple stops is you're really kind of just you can think of it as like relaxing maybe your elbow just the tiniest bit, or just like, you can think of it as just getting a little bit more sloppy on purpose, and that's what it'll feel. It'll feel a little disorienting and sloppy at first to go from one string, because we spend so much time, if we're playing melodies, working on just playing that one string. Like, oh, don't hit any other strings, that's not what I'm going for. But then when you get into double stops, you have to kind of unlearn a lot of that stuff. Like, okay, now I'm actually going for a double stop or a 3-string tremolo sort of sound. So definitely stay relaxed. I would hold the pick as you would normally. Try to be as relaxed as you can, as you would feel if you were just playing a melody or regular chords. And just work on it a little bit, you know. Take 30 seconds every time you pick up the mandolin to just work on some like double stop, tremolo. Don't spend all day on it, because that's gonna like really tire you out pretty quick and won't be a great use of practice time. But 30 seconds when you pick it up and 30 seconds when you're about to put it down. A couple times a day, once a day for a couple weeks or a month, and you'll really start to feel natural in that zone. That is my best recommendation. Yeah, we got Eastman, Kentucky. Yep, Eastman's good for the money. Yep. Let's Rodeo says buy from a dealer. That'll give you a good setup. Exactly. Banjo Ben does great stuff. Yep, that's not spam. Yeah, Banjo Ben. Cool. I've heard good things. I've never actually bought anything through Banjo Ben, but I've heard good things, and I'm sure he does a great job. Cool. Learning minor notes for messianic music is awesome. Elderly setups are very good. That's the truth. Minor pentatonic is 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7. Oh, could be, yeah. I think there's a number of minor pentatonics. It's just me, like, technically pentatonic is just a 5-note scale. I'm not sure which one is most common, but that could be the most common. So that would be like, let's see, what? 1 flat 3. I lost the chat. 1 flat 3 4 5. Oh, Let's Radio says didn't mean to plug another site. Totally fine. There's so much. Oh, there's a lawnmower. I'm gonna go close a window real quick. Summertime, time to mow your lawns. Yeah, no, there's so many good websites out there. I've got no problem with people sharing their favorites. What was the question? Oh yeah, minor pentatonics. So yeah, you can do 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7. That's kind of the blues sound. But yeah, so there's probably, I would look into that. I'm no expert on minor pentatonics. So if you're looking for a particular sound, I'm sure you can find what you're looking for, or ask on Mandolin Cafe. People over there would be able to help you out. Very cool. There was a tune request up at the top. What was it? It was a great tune that I really wanted. Oh, Ducks in the Millpond. I'll play a little Ducks in the Millpond. Key of D. How does this tune go? Duck, duck, there it is. 1, 2. There's mine there. Oh, come on. There you go. A little bit of Ducks on the Millpond. Great old-time tune in the key of D that I could pretty much play all day if I was given the opportunity. Let's see, what do we got here? I think I'm catching up on the chat, which is always good, but it means you guys got some work to do to keep me entertained here. Dan Sue says, thanks for helping the tremolo. Gladly. Yeah, no problem. Uncle Bobby says, were you middling on your tenor guitar the other day? Don't know what middling is. Sounded kind of like blues. I did just post so on my Instagram account, not the MandoLessons one, but you can find me by my name on Instagram. I've been posting some little clips of that tenor guitar, wherever it is, right there. Trying to get into the electric world a little bit and get used to that stuff. And yeah, I posted a little kind of bluesy sounding one a couple days back. Super fun to I tend to wake up in the morning and pick that thing up for, noodling. There you go. Yeah, just noodling. Nothing, just kind of, that's my favorite thing to do on that guitar at this point, is just kind of make stuff up and see what it sounds like. Just kind of, it's fun to wake up in the morning and while my brain isn't on and my kind of internal editor isn't going, just see what comes out of my fingers. And all right, Ty D's, good to have you here. Late to the chat, but better late than never. That's the truth. Hope you're doing well on this Saturday. All right, well, let's see. I might have to jump out a little early today, but before I forget, let's jump right into the, I'm not going anywhere yet, but let's jump into the Tombigbee Waltz. Tombigbee. Tombigbee. I always get that a little hard to say. Great waltz in the key of G. We're going to do it as a play along. It's on my website. And the way this works is play it through a couple times, key of G. I'll start out, I'll play the melody, and you can play the chords to get a sense of what it sounds like. And then we can swap back and forth. So you take the chords, you take the melody, I'll play the chords, back and forth. I might do some double stops and improvisation, things like that, just to play through the tune a couple times because it's always fun. And so this is a great way, if you don't know the tune, this is a great time to just, listen in, see if you can pick up a couple notes as we go along here. If you do know the tune and you're getting to know it, it's a great way just to play through it a couple times, get that muscle memory moving, kind of get it a little further cemented in your brain. And if you've been playing Tombigbee for, years and you know it like the back of your hand, great way to work on some double stops, improvisation. Just try to, wherever you're at with the tune, try to kind of push yourself a little bit during these ones. It's just, that's a nice thing. It's great to play in larger groups, but it's often hard to hear, and there's like social pressure of not playing the wrong note. Now's the time. This is totally the time to play wrong notes. I'll play some, you'll play some, and we'll all have a good time. Cool. All right. BS is back from dinner. Hope you are happy and full of delicious food. And just in time to do some Tombigbee Waltz play along. So get your mandolins out and tuned up, and we'll get to this. A vid on how to play Chief O'Neill's. Yeah, I'll look into that one. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I will look into it because I'm pretty sure I might mostly know it if I were to look it up. Alright, so not too fast. It's a waltz, so 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, maybe about there. 1, here we go. B part. You take it. I'll play chords. Here we go. Yabba-dum. B part. You play the chord. B part. You play the melody. See if you can add in some double stops. B part. You play the melody again, I'll play harmony. B part. Going out. There we have it, a little Tombigbee Waltz. And I've been getting it confused because there's a tail piece. I think it's Tombigbee, but the tail piece on that guitar is called a Bigsby, and it's got the kind of tremolo arm on it. So my brain on that word is just a little mixed up right now. No matter what I say, it doesn't sound right. Yeah, so that's a great tune to work on. If you don't know that one, that's one a lot of people will know in kind of the old time world. Really beautiful tune. Lots of nice space for double stops and tremolo and all sorts of different ornaments. Jay Vincent says, nice one. Slow ones are great while we're starting out. Yeah, I would play slow tunes all day, every day, really. There's a particular friend of mine that every time we're teaching at a camp or something together and there's these big, loud, fast sessions going on, we usually try to like hide away somewhere and just play slow, mellow tunes late into the night. And, you know, that's some of my favorite music, is really just to play nice, slow, pretty stuff. Lots of space for the melody to breathe. Doesn't get any better in my book. BS says, do you have a live show every week at the same time? Most weeks, yes. So whenever I'm around on a Saturday, I do it 12 Eastern Standard Time. So whatever that is in your part of the world, that's when I tend to do them. I try to let people know. I can tell you right now if there's going to be one next week. It's getting into the summer when Saturdays start filling up, but yeah, next week I will be here. And then we're into fiddle camp season, and so it might not happen then for a couple weeks, but then I'll be back. We'll have a good time. Tombigbee, there it is, Lauren. I don't know. Whoops. What is the name of the little piece from your for your right arm? So this right here is called an armrest. In particular, this one is made by this guy Doug Edwards, Hill County String Works. It's called the McClung armrest, MCCLUNG armrest. Not sponsored or anything. I just love this armrest. Nice and comfortable. Not a necessity by any means. I got into the habit because I had a mandolin before this one that was really sharp on the edges, and it was actually just kind of like really uncomfortable for my arm, so I got an armrest. And I also just like the way it kind of sets up my arm over the strings a little bit and a little more comfortable. Cool, nice. You know, you can have dinner so you won't miss it. Yeah, same time. Whenever it's here, it's usually same time. Can you write? Oh, yes, I will write that. So, McClung armrest, Doug Edwards. And it's Hill County, County Strings. But there's a bunch of people that make armrests. And I'm sure they're all good. This is just the only, I've just had this one for years. Cool. Well, maybe I'll do one more. I gotta head out a little early today. There's a lot going on. I gotta get ready for this dance. There's a bunch of stuff happening in my town. Today, before this live stream, I walked outside just to like go on a quick walk and discovered that an entire street in my town had become a sidewalk sale, like yard sale, and then all the businesses had like merchandise sales going on, so I had to go wander around, make sure there wasn't any good deals I was passing up. Didn't find anything, but always fun when that happens. Yeah, so that's about it. I'll play one more tune and then head out. And let's pick a tune while I'm playing this. Put in the comments what you'd like to play next week. Preferably something pretty straight ahead, something that's on my website so we can all learn it this week. Sometimes even me, because I forget tunes sometimes. And yeah, so what do you want to play next week? Put it in the chat and I'll pick something out of there. There we go, a little bit of Billy in the low ground. Well, we got some suggestions in there. All right, looks like we have 2 votes for the Rakes of Mallow. Great tune. Can't remember how it goes right now, but I will practice up for next week. I hope you will too. It's a great classic tune. Gets played all over the world. Oh, let's see. Okay, so Let's Rodeo has the link for Hill County String Works, where I get my armrests. Mississippi Palisades, another great tune. It's a pretty complicated one, but maybe we'll get to that one some week. But for next week, let's do Rakes of Mallow. Great classic tune. BS says, is there a way I can donate without using a credit card? So there's a couple ways to donate. There's this YouTube, whatever it's called, Super Chat. On my website, you can click the donate button. There's a couple ways to donate through there. One's just a PayPal donation, which would be a card unless you have a PayPal account. But you don't need a PayPal account to donate. You can donate through Patreon, which once again is going to be a credit card. And you can also send me, I have a P.O. box, and there's the address for my mailing address there. It probably wouldn't make sense to send a check in the mail from the Netherlands. So I would say, don't worry about it. I appreciate that you're interested in donating. I would say, pass my donation, whatever you give me. Next time you see somebody like busking, playing music on the street, especially if they're playing a mandolin or a fiddle or some kind of folk music, just give my donation to them. Be easier than sending it through the mail. And yeah, so thank you all so much for another great Mando Lessons Live. We'll be back at it next Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Just make sure I'm not missing anything here in the chat. Thanks. Have a great weekend. Okay, PayPal. Yeah, PayPal is just fine. And Beck says lawnmowers on May 1st. It's actually June 1st. I know, it snuck up on me too. Yeah, they're just starting out. It's been a cold, we've been getting a lot of rain, so it's pretty wet, so the grass is pretty happy. What do we got here? Yep. Oh, okay, so nice. That's good to know. Denise points out the tune starts, The Rakes of Mallow is on the website. So yeah, you gotta look up you can always use the search at the top. You look up Rakes, then you'll find it there. Cool. Yeah, so Rakes of Mallow for next week. And we'll see you next time. Thank you all so much for the support, and have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye-bye.